we are welcome to this exclusive interview with Dr. Olalekan Babatunde, a research fellow of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, who will be talking to us on the war in Ukraine and the alleged spy balloon controversy and other sundry issues. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. February 24th, 2023 will make it exactly 1 year since Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, according to official reports, over 41,000 persons have been killed just 12 months into the fighting. How will you describe the war 1 year down the line?
Yeah, thank you very much. Quite unfortunate that as the world is in need of peace and development, especially after the COVID-19 of 2020, that we witnessed a lot of destructions to our social and economic lives, and even political. But that we witnessed the crisis, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and the untold, destructions of lives, property, and displacement of persons, and even to the displacement, the destructions of the global scale, the energy, the food, and under supply chains. So it's quite unfortunate. So I see the war as an unfortunate developing, phenomenon in our development to humanity, which shouldn't have been allowed to take place in the first instance. If the superpowers, the so-called superpowers and their stakeholders and their allies have listened to words of reason.
So, how will you describe China's stance in the war so far?
Yeah, very interesting. That's a good question, because China is a superpower after the United States, according to some people, some experts, military experts. China has really positioned itself strategically in these in the ruckus, going on in the war, between Russia and Ukraine, and also between Russia's and the allies, which included even China, and also the Western powers, the NATO, the Europe, and other allies, to as far as Japan and South Korea. So I would describe the role, the stand of China as being, more mature in terms of the engagement. China never endorsed and never condemned, the war. China has played itself very neutral, and China has really been engaging with Russia because of this no-limit relationship with Russia. And China is standing with its commitment, and it's also providing, humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. So China has really, placed itself, in a strategic way, which is quite commendable.
Well, I think your point is well noted. But when the war started 1 year ago, the United States of America and other Western nations opposed the war and imposed severe sanctions on Russia. But just like you mentioned, China did not either condemn the war or support the war. But China have also exercised her veto power when it comes to resolutions at the United Nations. Now, according to reports, within the last 1 year, trade relations between China and Russia have increased. In fact, it has almost doubled. So do you think China is actually benefiting from this conflict?
China considers relationship very, very strongly. So China continues to engage, because as far as China is concerned, China doesn't have any, major, issue with Russia, because both countries share thousands of kilometers of borders, and they have good reasons to relate together, to engage in one another, in one thing or the other, especially trade.
Recently, I think I was reading an article where the United States of America accused China of supplying weapons, lethal weapons to Russia. Is China actually supplying weapons to Russia?
No, let me put it this way. Yeah, during the Munich Security Conference in Germany, that finished over the last weekend. It was there the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said, accused China that China is preparing to supply little support to Russia, and they are watching very closely. And it is an allegation that the team of Russia vehemently, rejected that the Russian, the Chinese team was led by its former foreign ministers, who is now the foreign policy advisor Wang Yi. And Wang Yi vehemently said no, there was nothing like that. But Blinken continued. The strategy in this case is that United States of America will continue to push, to poke, to poke the Chinese on this, to have this belligerent kind of engagement. But inside, there are, other diplomatic moves for both countries, to relate together, to, resolve, to mellow down their rhetorics, to mellow down their rivalries. But outside, according to what Blinken has said, and we know that is coming even after the Banu saga. So the world will see that the United States is not aligned with China over Russia, over Russia, and with Russia over Ukraine. So both countries will continue to be in different sides. But as far as China is concerned, China is pursuing an altruistic approach, kind of a strategic partnership with Russia, and it will continue to forge its trade relationship with Russia.
But does China have any plans to supply weapons to Russia?
No, as far as I know, China is not at that level. Yes, of it's very difficult for me, here to see what a country is doing, because even if a weapon is being supplied, it will just be done covertly. Yes, covertly. Yeah. So definitely, but from as far as I can see China, as far as I am engaging with China, reading their rhetorics and reading their literatures, narratives and so on and so forth, and even their history, China is not giving to belligerence, it's not giving to violence. China is pursuing, in every country China is pursuing peaceful means of resolving conflict. So China will not be able to, will not want a situation whereby they will escalate the conflict. They have been calling for it for various reasons. Yes, for various reasons. China has reason, the need to see that the conflict between Russia and China is mitigated. China has a large population to feed, 1.4 billion people. Don't let us forget that. So as far as China is concerned, the Belt and Road, you can see, is not as buoyant as before the war. So it has really, declined a little. But we look forward to quick resolution of this conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
Now, it's been 1 year down the line since this conflict started, and it seems peace is something that is far from being achieved. Now, what strategic role do you think China can play in brokering peace between Russia and Ukraine? Can China serve as a mediator to ensure that this war ends?
Yeah, for a country that I said that is looking for peace, that is for peaceful way to resolve conflict, definitely China has bigger roles to play. China has experienced this, conflict, also confrontations, in its national history before, where the allies, the European allies, because in the Boxer Rebellion in the 1902, and before that, China has experienced annexation of some of its territories. It's expected of China definitely, and China is making that point. Like Wang Yi said too, also in Munich, over the weekend, that they are making efforts to propose, peace plan between Russia and Ukraine. But the success of that plan, the success of any move by China will be looked into by the United States of America, who are fueling, with weapons, the conflict with weapons, with aid, yes, with every other thing. they will continue to probe, to fuel the conflict, to fire the conflict in order not to have peaceful resolution. They want the conflict to exacerbate to the extent that Russia wins will be clipped. So the Chinese has a lot of stake, in this conflict too, because of its own issue too with Taiwan and United States. So you can see that whatever move China is making, United States will not see it as being neutral. They believe that if the war ends today, it's likely for, as the state is today, for Russia to leave Ukraine. So it is very possible for China, who has been looking, for the peaceful pacification with the island of Taiwan, to also annex Taiwan, either aggressively through or non-aggression through non-aggression approach. So there's a lot of diplomacy, geopolitical fault lines between the two in all these issues.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.